Hello everyone, I'm Renown Zero. We are back talking about some weirdos who are sitting here acting like absolute fools. You know, your normal Rippaverse detractors, and those would be the people like Juju the cow and the old throat goat making stupid comments, making nonsense comments as they always do, and we're going to talk about it. So the Horseman #1 launched on Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, to a great opening, tens of thousands of dollars raised, thousands of books already sold within the first day. It is going to be yet another six-figure campaign for the Rippaverse, and it's with a collection of comics that I own, pretty much all of them, and I think they're all very solid. And this is going to be yet another banger, I believe, from the legendary writer Chuck Dixon, drawn by Joe Bennett. As you know, most people know Chuck Dixon for writing Batman and co-creating Bane, and you have Joe Bennett doing things like the Immortal Hulk. So we're going to get into it really quick. I'm just going to go through a couple of promotions for books that I feel are great, and I've pretty much got all of them. You got the Horseman #1 at 3,227 total books sold, at 97,575 in total sales, inching ever so closely to that $100,000 mark, only being available for maybe 2 whole days. You have ISOM #3, the conclusion to the ill-advised arc for the Rippaverse, of course, sitting at 530,000. I believe it's over 9,000 books, so I'm just going to do a quick refresh just to be sure that it's up to date on screen here. So at 9,109 total books sold and 535,934 in total sales, which I believe I'm also going to have to do a quick refresh for both Zalen and The Great War of Separation #2 as well. Zalen being another book written by Chuck Dixon. At 6,618 total books sold, closing in on that $200,000 in total sales mark for Zalen. And then you have The Great War of Separation at 4,861 total books sold, 144,487 in total sales, with the Rippazine #3 shipping out starting tomorrow, which will have previews for ISOM 3 and The Great War Separation #1, which the first issue of Great War Separation is already out, so you can pick that up at Rippaverse.com, and ISOM #3 is coming out very soon, so you'll have quick previews of that book in the magazine known as the Rippazine #3. But our great friend of the channel, John Bua, is of course working on Heroic Tales #2. It's going to be an excellent book, I believe, and he says it's going to be a bigger story than the first book. The first book was absolutely phenomenal. He's already at 62 backers, closing in on that $2,000 mark, raised only in 8 days. You can get this over on fundmycomic.com. I will leave links to all the campaigns below in the description. You have multiple covers. You have your digital for #2. You get 1 and 2 digital. You can get #2 cover A, cover B, the cosplay one coming soon. You can also get a cover bundle for #2 or a catch-up pack with 1 and 2. So like I said, I'll leave links to everything in the description. I got both covers, of course, and of course the stretch goals for them are going to be a bunch of different trading cards with different heroes and villains, up to 20 cards if we get him further along on the campaign. And there are some, of course, preview pages here which look absolutely phenomenal because Renzo is fantastic. Renzo Rodriguez being the interior artist. These are old cards that were put out. So you got 3K all the way up to 8K for different trading cards. So now, first things first, moving on to Edwin Boyette, where you have the throat goat himself, Ethan Van Sciver. Of course, the first thing on his brain is, of course, the male genitalia when anyone seems to draw anything as far as a shotgun is concerned or a pew-pew is concerned. You know this man has that on his brain because he's a closeted homosexual, and it seems to be the only thing that's what he's going to be thinking about. Especially when it comes to someone drawing a cover for the Rippaverse like Mike S. Miller has with Horseman #1 cover B, the retro cover. So Van Sciver's trying to rile up Mike S. Miller, and that generally corresponds to when Ethan is trying to show some overpriced merchandise. Ethan almost always picks a fight when he's trying to persuade his reactionary audience to spend money. Is Ethan launching a new campaign for something? Probably is. I think he might be doing something for the cars. I'm not exactly sure. I don't really keep up with the guy. I just know recently he's doing some new covers for Cyberfrog 3, a book that he hasn't even started working on yet, and it's a year and a half late. But when you have good old Juju the cow who knows nothing about comic books, when people like Jesse from Pod Awful says, what the F does this Masterson have to do with comic books? You, of course, have him trying to criticize a page drawn by Joe Bennett, which, personally, there's nothing wrong with this page, bro. Looks like an effed up RoboCop. It's like, bro, he's not robotic, for one, so it doesn't make sense. Do you know who the heck RoboCop is, bro? It's not an insult. People like RoboCop. You don't like anything. You just cry about everything. And I even said, oh yes, very insightful from a guy who's never read a comic book in his entire life. The same guy who claimed he read ISOM 1, which he never read because it was so obvious that the questions he asked Eric July about that book, he didn't realize they were all answered inside the book if he actually read it. You look like a guy who gets pegged while wearing a cow suit, because you have. Therefore, your legacy, criticizing Carol Brown that literally has nothing to do with anything. She don't really care about your nonsense drama. She's told me herself, you guys are all idiots, and you constantly just sit up here and cry like little babies all the time. Even the Saska sisters see the nonsense you guys do, but they ignore it because they're professionals. So what are we doing? Ha ha ha, you're right, Eric. It's a little on the feminine side to involve the police in an internet argument. You are the same guy who called the cops on someone leaving an inflatable cow in the truck of your house. So what are we talking about? Literally you doing this exact thing you're criticizing somebody else of doing. Also, your boy, Chris Bacon, has tried this as well with people on the internet for internet arguments. So what are we doing? Literally people on your side of the aisle who act like little feminine ass babies do this all the time. And besides that, this is a tweet from 2022. Come on, bro. You're never gonna live it down. I even say it here. Then I guess you should have never called the cops on the guy who placed an inflatable cow in the truck at your house then. You're the same guy who claimed you should be able to call the cops if someone writes, hey, a-hole, on your house. You will never be able to live that down. Your word means nothing. You are an absolute internet troll. You got BTFO'd. You got called out. You got nuked from orbit by Eric himself because you are nothing. You are a literal nothing. Your entire relevancy, or lack thereof, relies on Eric July succeeding every single day and every single week. And it's funny how people will sit here and claim that I obsess over people, yet it is obvious there are plenty of people online that clearly obsess over myself and Eric July, and they hover over anyone who likes the Rippaverse. Why you live your entire life being so angry at people that specifically ignore you, especially weirdos who sit there and claim, yeah, they're like nice table. It's like this individual who shall not be named is the same individual who probably shares a couch with himself and not his wife. Instead, his wife goes off and Tyrone on a weekly basis because he works so much that she doesn't care about him. She only was in it for the kids, and she settled for him. So we're not doing this again where people are literally sitting here acting like petulant children over comic books they never cared about and never will care about. It is absolutely stupid that people are still doing this 3 years into this company being in existence. Especially the clowns over on, the Fandom Initiative. They're still doing this where they're constantly like, whoa, okay, well, ISOM this is not coming out, ISOM 3 is not coming out, now ISOM 4 is not coming out. They're constantly doing this nonsense all the time. Still, bro. We're still at this point where you got Dane from AF, Dane Actual Fandom, Eric Debunks, the guy who debunks nothing ever, and Bob from Organized Chaos. We're still doing this nonsense to this day.
Pride in not understanding art.
Do you want to catch us up on what's going on with that with Eric July though, Eric? Because I hadn't watched your video yet, but I saw the thing and I was like, of course Eric July.
He made a video about what artists should be prepared to do because of AI and whatnot, and
that's correct. AI is in existence. You should be prepared for it to take over your job possibly if you do not adapt. That is literally the same thing that happens when it comes to new technology and when it comes to new programs in the graphic side of the world.
He's online basically asking people out there to come and work for his company because he got turned down. You remember, like, last year, he got turned down by another, like, art mill company, I guess, where they're just turning out comics and stuff.
Did we ever find out if that was a different one besides Glass House, or was it?
I think we've confirmed it is a different one because.
Personally, why does it matter? Why are these guys so involved with what someone else's business has going on? That's my whole thing. I still don't understand how these grown ass men spend all their time bitching and complaining and trying to investigate and be these little fake journalists, little snakes slithering around trying to find like little nitpicky information over somebody else's head. It's like, why are you doing that?
Glasshouse came out and said they're still working with Eric, so he still has them. But I don't think Glasshouse has the capability of making the amount of comics at a rate that Eric is wanting them to.
Joe Bennett works for Glasshouse. The man's working on like 3 comics at once. Deborah Carita, Will Conrad, all on Glasshouse, have no problem churning out comics.
Which is why he was going to another company. But now he's looking for artists on Twitter because he just doesn't have enough people or whatever.
Yeah, he's a smart individual for doing so, and there are plenty of people looking to work with Eric July, including people like Joe Ball, who were interested in doing a cover for one of his books. So this really doesn't matter considering he has loads of people looking to work for him because he's successful and it's a popular thing to be a part of, and people are going to buy it. The people that want to work for him know that they have the fan base that's going to purchase the product.
The reality is, I don't think we're going to get a 4th ISOM. I think ISOM 3 is the last one.
Ooh, yeah, that's just like how they used to shift those goalposts, saying, well, ISOM 1 will never come out, ISOM 1, no one will ever get it. Well, no, ISOM 2 will never, well, they'll never get that out. Well, no, ISOM 3 has to be changed to something else. It will never be called ISOM 3, and then we have ISOM 3. So what is going to happen when the goalpost shifts? When ISOM number 4 is announced to just be simply ISOM number 4, what is the next goalpost that's going to be available for these guys to use to kind of slither their way out of the nonsense that they've been saying once again? I cannot wait for that to happen. So we're coming up on Yaira number 3. Alpha Core number 2 I'm sure will come out this year. Alpha Core number 3 I'm sure will either come out sometime at the end of this year or the beginning of next year. So when all that's said and done, and then Salvage is out and Norfolk is out and all the other things that Eric is writing on, you know, like Salvage, Sersha, and Norfolka, and those are all limited. Well, I know Norfolka's limited series. I don't know about Salvage and Sersha, but when Norfolka is done, what's going to happen when ISOM 4 comes out? What are you guys going to say then?
Man, I'm really looking forward to that too.
Yeah, so
and then there'll be a soft reboot, which is something Eric's totally supports.
Right.
Yep, he's always said that. You know, I'm all about rebooting
Eric supports people adapting to the market.
these characters and starting over with different, you know.
Oddly enough, Isom was the character that has made the most money per campaign for Eric, but probably also the worst character, the least talked about character out of everything he's created for the Rippaverse.
How would you know that? You don't interact with people who actually like the Rippaverse. So I know that's a lie. There are people that claim, out of the Rippaverse characters that have been introduced, that Isom is their favorite character, and they were looking forward to seeing how his first arc ends. So that's an outright lie.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, even Horseman is more popular than Isom in terms of like conversations.
Listen, Albacore sucked, Yaira sucked, but they were...
According to who, bro? According to you? Did you guys even read those books, or did you get your opinion from somebody else? Did you actually look at them at all? Did you watch a review? Again, it's all opinions, by the way. You could say something sucks, but the sales say otherwise.
Both better written books than either Isom issue.
Did you mean to call it Albacore just now? Did you intentionally call it Albacore? I hope not. I hope
it is Albacore, isn't it?
So they went by purchasers, of course. They use this stupid graph that they continue to use, even though this is the amount of people that bought and not the amount of books that were actually sold. So this doesn't really mean anything, because this literally happens in every single comic book, and this literally happens with every single novel, where there's a huge possible drop in the amount of people that buy it. Either they don't pick it up right away, or they buy it later, or they're not interested. Things happen literally in everything. So this chart that they keep continuing to use is absolutely irrelevant. This literally happens in comics all the time. Nobody cares, bro. This hasn't led to nothing because literally year over year, Eric makes more money than the previous year. He made more than $3.7 million in year 2, 2023. And he made more money in 2024 than he did in 2023. So none of these numbers matter. No significance to anything because This is just the amount of people that got in on the campaigns when they were released. You're not counting all the new people that are coming in after the fact and discovering the Rippaverse after the fact, or you're not counting any of those people. You're not counting any of those new people at all. Considering that every single book has a cover D or a cover C in ISOM number 1's case that is mass printed so that anyone new can come into the Rippaverse universe and buy a book from it.
That is it. You're right. Okay.
Yeah.
I hope to God that I've successfully gotten people calling it.
And I also say this all the time. Where are your millions, bro? Why do you care so much about what other people make on their business? What is with these guys who constantly pocket watch another man rather than just making your own stuff? If it's so terrible, right? If you think it's so bad in comics and you could do a better job than Eric July, go for it. I'm pretty sure he does not mind the competition and the pie isn't fixed. What is the issue with these guys constantly clamoring on Eric July's ankles all the time?
Yeah, albacore without even thinking about it.
It is albacore. What are you talking about, Dane?
I mean, if you guys can't put out a comic that makes even more than Gooding, which made it close to 300K, what does it matter to you guys? Why does it matter to these guys so much whether or not Eric failed? So if Eric failed tomorrow, right? If Rippaverse somehow went out of business tomorrow, what would you guys talk about? You guys aren't talking about anything you actually like, right? These are the same people that claim that the people that talk about stuff they hate, that they don't talk about stuff that they like, but yet they do talk about stuff that they like and don't actually tell you. They don't tell their audience these things because their audience would hate them for them to tell them that. Their audience would not expect them to tell them the truth because they don't. None of these guys who report negatively on the Rippaverse ever tell you the truth. Is that, yeah, not everyone buys the second issue in the comic book world. Welcome to reality. This happens in the mainstream as well. Number 2s almost never do better than the first one. It's just a reality. And this is something that Eric anticipated in the beginning. He never anticipated making $3.7 million on ISOM number 1. He said this multiple times. And he doesn't expect every campaign to do $1 million every single time. And I'm sure when ISOM number 3 closes up, I'm sure there's going to be that narrative that ISOM is a flop even though it's literally made its money back and it's already in the profit zone, and that apparently it's terrible for him to do less books. It's like, bro, nobody cares. People have adapted to where they don't have to buy a book right away because the book will always be available. They can get the book at their leisure. They can get the book whenever they feel like buying it at any given time because the book will always be available on Rippaverse.com. So I don't understand what the premise is with these guys constantly trying to clamor away at this and nipping at the ankles of Eric on a consistent basis when literally they could be doing anything else. But I guess that's the only way they claim to stay quote-unquote relevant. Thank you all for checking out this video. Really do appreciate all the new subscribers, returning subscribers, new viewers, and returning viewers. If you do like this type of content, smash the like button. Comment below your feelings about all this. Are you going to be picking up any of these books, including The Horseman number 1, written by the legendary Chuck Dixon, as well as Zaylin? Also, and The Great War of Separation, written by the legendary Chuck Dixon. Will you be picking up ISOM number 3? Let me know in the comment section down below. Subscribe for more content. Hit the bell for notifications. Set the bell to all. That way you'll get a notification anytime I post a video or go live on the channel. Consider becoming a member for just $1 a month. As a join button down below this video. Get access to emojis during live streams as well as members only content. And if you can't spare the book, that's okay too. I appreciate you for watching the videos and jumping in on live streams. And I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.